Welcome back to another episode of the Ducks on Base Pod. We talk about the MLB draft that happened this past weekend today, with a school record 7 Ducks going off the board in the first 20 rounds, and first only 20 rounds of the MLB draft. We'll kind of talk about our thoughts about each of our landing spots, and we'll see where the conversation goes. Fox, you want to start us off?
All right. The Ducks kind of went where we predicted that they would go to. The first one, being Ryan Cooney, was the first one drafted, and he was drafted to the Toronto Blue Jays. I kind of just thought like maybe he could fit in there, and I kind of made a good guess because he got drafted there, and I think he'll be overall a good inclusion because he kind of fits into what the Blue Jays have kind of gone to, which is a really batting average heavy approach, and then also having a power part of that, and he kind of fits that mold of just a high average power, or like sometimes power bat.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it'll be probably 4, maybe 3 to 4 years, depending on how he is before he makes it, I think there's definitely going to be some spots opening up in the infield with Jimenez. I think he'll still be there. They'll have Clement, who will play. I think he plays second now. So he'll probably have to switch positions from second base, but he has some potential. He has a definitely spot of potential success in that organization.
Yeah, I agree. I think he landed in a perfect spot, and I think the Blue Jays kind of also, I guess, from an outsider's perspective, they also value positional versatility. Obviously, Ernie Clement played a bunch of different positions. They get guys that can play multiple positions. So I think it'll be happy for Ryan Cooney. I think we both agree he's in a good landing spot, and hope he develops for the Blue Jays, and maybe we'll see him in the big leagues in a couple of years.
Going next, we have Cal Scolari was the next one drafted. He was drafted by the White Sox, pick 137.
Yep.
This was expected. He was going to get drafted in this range. I think definitely with this offer, I think he's probably going to take it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's exactly been named.
I think there's rumblings that the scouting director mentioned on a radio show or something. I think he's going to get just over slot. So I think it was just over 597K. So yeah, I think he's gone.
All right. Well, he's definitely going to be a big, a pretty good pickup for their organization. I think he has a lot of potential if he can just stay healthy. I think that's his big gripe. I think he has like the chance for more velocity, and more stuff in his pitching, and I think he can definitely. It's just really just his injury history. That's gonna be the big question for him.
Yeah. So I think it will be interesting to see. They have obviously a couple of top shelf pitching prospects in their system that they've developed over the last few years. Hopefully they can add Cal Scolari to that list in years to come.
It's and then next we have Max Maloney, who's going in the 6th round to the Detroit Tigers. Another Duck picked up by the Tigers after 1 year after Grayson Cancel got drafted to there. I think the Tigers are going to be going into a rebuild right now. There's rumblings that they're not going to trade Terry Skubal for some reason, but he's in at least a pretty good program overall. I think they'll really just have to see how really his stuff translates to the next level. He was
Yeah.
pretty good for multiple years at Oregon. Just this last year wasn't the best. And in this range, a lot of these pitchers already have like pre-signed. Oh, not all of these players have pre-signed deals
Yeah.
with the organization. It's really like the first 3 or 4 rounds are when players are drafted based on trying to get them for the player that they are and then slot.
Yeah.
In this range, they're usually getting paid over slot, or have specific deals in mind.
Yeah. Definitely a good. I think they haven't. I haven't heard any rumblings on where he'll land signing bonus wise, but I think he's in a good spot organizationally. Um, they've developed guys like their current rookie of the year favorite Kevin McGonigal. There's probably some infielders that made their major league debut I just cannot think of right now. But I think the Tigers have been a decent organization developing talent. So I think it'll be interesting to see. Like you said, if his talent translates over into wood bat and into better pitching, essentially.
Yeah, I think the big question is going to be how does his bat translate? He has the defensive capabilities to do it.
Yeah.
It's just he needs to find the consistency that we see every year with him, where he has these stretches where he's like by far the best player on the field.
Yeah.
Where he hits like 3 home runs in a series. He goes like bats like 800 for like around like 2 weeks, and that really like really helps his counting sets. And then like he has these lulls that are pretty that were pretty bad.
Yeah, definitely glimpses. We've definitely seen glimpses of his potential in his time at Oregon. So I think we both agree that it'll be interesting to just kind of see how he translates over into major league pitching and wood bat. But yeah, we'll move on to our next duck off the board, Miles Gastola. He went in the 8th round, pick 253 to the Los Angeles Dodgers. To my dismay as a Giants fan, this would be what, the second duck they've taken in the last few years.
It's 3 ducks. So they took Isaac Aon, Anson Arrows, and then
That's right.
And now Miles Gastola and Devin Bell.
Yeah. The next guy that went in round 10? Yeah, round 10.
It's actually interesting to see the 2 Oregon-based prospects that the Ducks picked up this past year in the transfer portal from lower level, like low D1 or junior college, get picked in the MLB draft. This is really I wouldn't say it's surprising. They both show that they have the talent, but it shows that Oregon is a place that players can come and get more recognition and allow them to get drafted higher.
Yeah.
Miles Gastola at the end of the year, he was I think consistency wise, he was the second best starter on this team behind Will Sanford. And he looked amazing. It would have been really interesting to see how he pitched against Texas if they got to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing that Kevin Sider got 2 years ago against Texas A&M. It would have been interesting to see because he got on a roll at the end of the season as well.
Yeah.
But he definitely has the potential. He looked pretty good. And that was his first year with D1 high level pitching facilities and pitching development. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes into the Dodger system, which really turns out top level pitching year over year.
Yeah. I think we've talked about it before. Late season pitching performances always gives you a little rise in your draft stock. And I think Miles Costello, for the way he was pitching at the end in the Big Ten tournament, in the regional, and might if he got a chance at a super regional appearance, I think that would have boosted his draft stock up a little. I think, yeah, I think it was. It kind of shows, like, right, like Cal Scolari, same thing. Like, he was at USD prior to coming to Oregon, and now he's a 5th-round draft pick. Costello coming in from Gonzaga, now an 8th-round draft pick. Devin Bell, who came in from a D2 or D3, I can't remember. He's a 10th-round draft pick, right? So, like, Oregon is a place that, despite all the NIL conversations that have been had on social media in recent weeks and months, it is a place that guys can come, kind of reinvent themselves or kind of build upon what they had at their previous stops. But yeah, I think you could probably speak on it better than I can as you're a Dodgers fan. What do you think about their landing spot?
I think they'll have the big issue with the Dodgers pitching is that there's just not a lot of. It depends on really what post like this era of the Dodgers looks like in 2 to 3 years. We can talk about this more in like future episodes. It really, like, the issue is that the team buys a lot of free agents and trades a lot of their players a lot to get relievers at the deadline and all of that. So there's a good chance, like Johnny DeLuca, which is one of them, where they have maybe like a short stint and then they get traded to another team
because they just have a log jam in the majors.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But we'll move on to your new favorite player on the Giants, Drew Smith.
Yeah, Drew Smith landed in the 15th round to my San Francisco Giants. Back in California, Drew Smith comes not back home, but like plays in the Bay. I thought, he's a senior, so there's no like chance of him going back to school. But I don't know. I thought it was I was pumping this narrative to one of my friends during our conversation and manifested it. But I think it's a good selection. There's always, the Giants have in the last few years have had those back end draft picks kind of like sneak up out of nowhere. Whether it's 3rd, 4th, 5th round or like the mid 10th, 15th round. But I think infield, like landing spot wise, he's in a good spot. Obviously, I think the infield prospects are a little log jammed, but I think we saw in Oregon he can play multiple positions. Played a little outfield, played second, played third. But I think it will be interesting to see where they start him out. And there is a chance he may end up back in Eugene, playing for the Eugene Emeralds at some point in the coming years. But yeah, I very much like that selection for the Giants, obviously.
Last we have Jack Brooks, who's drafted in the 19th round by the Washington Nationals. I think he's probably going to take this depending on what the situation is, unless he gets like a really good deal to stay in college. I think this is a pretty good spot. He has some time to get some playing time, which was his real, outside of this year, was his real lacking. He had a lot of playing time this year, but in previous years he was kind of log jammed in the infield and then in the outfield. So, and he played pretty well overall, considering he was really just a defensive first center fielder for the Ducks this year. I'm not
Yeah,
really. Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that. Honestly, I was kind of surprised they got picked in general. But yeah, I also agree. I think he might take the deal and go pro. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I think it's really just a big question of how. The only reason why he'd come back is he was guaranteed a bunch of NIL money to
Yeah,
come back, and I also think it's a. He also played pretty well during his time here, and he's left a pretty good. Being a person from, I believe, the Portland area and being kind of like a local kid, um, doing some good things for the Ducks. Oh no, yeah, he's from California, like Northern California. But he's from like the Pacific Northwest
yeah,
area.
yeah,
But I think he did pretty well overall, and I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if we've seen any other deals for undrafted free agents
I
yet.
haven't seen any.
I think the only ones would be Dominic Hellman would likely be the next one, only depending if he gets like a medical waiver because he didn't play a chunk of the season. But I think he's probably gone if I had a guess.
Yeah.
The only one that we do know that's coming back is Ian Umlant because
Yes.
I think he got a medical waiver for this season.
Yes. Yeah, some other guys that we were Ducks fans were kind of keeping an eye on. Toby Twist was also draft eligible. He went undrafted, so he'll likely be back with the Ducks next year, probably in a bigger role. But yeah, I think this is the all-time record for Ducks drafted in a year. I'll also forgot to mention Jacob Walsh. Jack Brooks reunites with his Ducks teammate Jacob Walsh in Washington if he does sign. But yeah, I think it's a good year for the Ducks. We got 7 guys. I think that's the most ever in a year for a program. So I think they're basically showing like, oh, this Oregon is a place that you can come to, build on your essentially your dreams, right? Like you got guys like Drew Smith who played for Oregon for all 4 years, and then you got guys who transferred in, like Gastola and Scolari and Devin Bell, and then you got the local kids like Maddox Maloney, right? So like, there's a lot of potential for the Oregon program in talent. And this draft basically kind of shows that there's different ways that you can come in to the Oregon program and build on your development and see where it takes you. But yeah, anything else to add, Fox?
I think we'll see. We've gotten a bunch of more commitments to Oregon baseball over the past few days. We'll see in a few months, well, over the next coming months, like what the roster looks like.
Yeah.
There's likely going to be some more movement from people. Like, the truth is, we don't know the roster until February of next year because there's also the fall camp, which like shrinks the roster down a bunch as well. So we won't really know, but we'll at least have we'll have our season review over the next couple of weeks. We've just been very busy, but we'll also get we'll also do our individual player reviews as well.
Yep. So yeah, as always, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. We'll be continuing to post all our episodes there, so you go back and listen anytime you want. And then also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at DucksOnBasePod. And we'll have additional content there. We'll talk about the transfers in and out. All sorts of stuff that could come along the way. But yeah, with that being said, we'll see you guys back here for next episode.